Nice guys don't finish last. They never start running. You've been lied to about strength, told that gentleness equals goodness, that avoiding conflict makes you noble, that your softness is a virtue. But look around you. Look at your life. Where has all that niceness gotten you? You smile when you want to scream. You say yes when you mean no. You apologize for taking up space in rooms you paid to enter. And you wonder why the world treats you like a ghost. Here's what they don't tell you about weak men. You're not harmless. You're not peaceful. You're a loaded weapon with the safety permanently on. And that might be the most dangerous thing of all. Why do we confuse weakness with virtue? Think about it. When did we decide that a man who can't say no is somehow more moral than a man who can? When did we convince ourselves that avoiding confrontation is the same as choosing peace? You call it being agreeable. The world calls it being forgettable. You call it being considerate. They call it being a pushover. You call it being humble. But humility without strength isn't humility at all. It's just fear, wearing a halo. Here's the truth that cuts. Your niceness isn't protecting anyone. It's not making the world better. It's not even making you safer. It's just making you invisible. And invisible men don't get remembered. They don't get respected. They don't get what they want. They get what's left over after everyone else has taken their share. But here's what's worse than being overlooked. You're starting to enjoy it. The safety of never having to defend a position because you never take one. The comfort of never being wrong because you never commit to being right. The ease of never failing because you never really try. Your weakness has become your drug, and like all addicts, you've convinced yourself it's medicine. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was the nice guy, always, in every room, in every situation, in every relationship that mattered. He was the friend who listened to everyone's problems, but never shared his own. The employee who worked late without being asked, and never asked for a raise. The son who called his mother every Sunday, even when she used those calls to remind him of every way he disappointed her. Marcus thought his niceness was his strength, his superpower, the thing that made him different from all those aggressive, selfish men he looked down on. Until the day his girlfriend left him. Not for another nice guy, for his best friend. The one who was always a little too loud, a little too confident, a little too willing to say what everyone else was thinking. "You're too safe," she told him as she packed her things. "Being with you is like being with no one at all." And in that moment, Marcus realized something that shattered him. His niceness wasn't strength, it was surrender. Every time he'd chosen peace over truth, he'd given away a piece of his soul. Every time he'd swallowed his words to avoid conflict, he'd swallowed his own voice. Every time he'd put someone else's comfort before his own integrity, he'd betrayed the only person who'd always believed in him, himself. Marcus had spent 30 years building a reputation as a good man. But good men don't hide from hard conversations. Good men don't sacrifice their values to avoid making waves. Good men don't pretend to be smaller than they are, so other people can feel bigger. Marcus wasn't a good man, he was a scared man. And scared men don't inspire love. They inspire pity, and eventually, even pity runs out. But here's where Marcus's story gets interesting. The day after she left, he looked in the mirror and saw something he'd never seen before. Rage. Pure, clean, honest rage. Not at her. Not at his friend. At himself. For all the years of shrinking, for all the moments of silence when he should have roared, for all the times he'd chosen the lie of harmony, over the truth of who he really was. And in that rage, He found something he'd lost so long ago. He'd forgotten it existed. His spine. Here's the trap you're in. And you don't even know it. You think strength is aggression. You think power is domination. You think being dangerous means being cruel. So you choose to be safe, harmless, nice. But niceness without strength isn't kindness. It's cowardice with good PR. Look at the men you actually respect, not the ones you say you respect because it sounds good. The ones whose opinion actually matters to you. The ones whose approval you secretly crave. Are they nice? Or are they something else entirely? They're dangerous. Not because they hurt people, but because they could if they had to. They speak with authority because they've earned the right to be heard. They command respect because they respect themselves first. They're not trying to be liked, they're trying to be real. And real men are never just nice. You know what real strength looks like. It's saying no without explanation. It's defending your boundaries like they're sacred ground. It's being willing to disappoint people who expect you to betray yourself for their comfort. Real strength is controlled aggression. It's the lion that could destroy you, but chooses not to. It's the storm that knows exactly when to break and when to hold back. But you're not a lion choosing restraint. You're a sheep pretending that being prey is a spiritual calling. And here's what's killing you inside. You know this. You know that every time you smile when you want to snarl, you die a little. You know that every time you agree when you want to argue, you disappear a little more. You know that every time you choose safety over truth, you become someone you don't recognize. But you can't stop. Because stopping means admitting that everything you've told yourself about virtue was a lie. It means facing the fact that your niceness wasn't protecting the world from your darkness. It was protecting your darkness from the light. And your darkness, it's not evil, it's not destructive, it's your power. And you've been burying it alive. The most dangerous man in the room isn't the one throwing punches, it's the one who doesn't have to. True strength isn't the absence of aggression. It's aggression under perfect control. It's knowing you could break someone and choosing instead to build them. It's having the power to destroy and using it to create. But first, you have to own your capacity for destruction. You have to admit that inside your nice guy exterior lives something wild and untamed, and potentially dangerous. You have to acknowledge that your politeness isn't virtue. It's a cage you built around your own power, because you were afraid of what you might do if you ever let it out. Here's what Marcus learned after his world fell apart. Niceness is what you do when you don't trust yourself with your own strength. Real men aren't nice, they're kind, and there's a universe of difference between the two. Nice is weak, kind is strong. Nice says yes to avoid conflict. Kind says no to avoid betrayal. Nice apologizes for existing. Kind apologizes when they have actually done something wrong. Nice is a people-pleasing strategy. Kind is a strength-based choice. When you learn to be dangerous, when you develop the capacity to say no, to set boundaries, to defend your values, to speak truth even when it hurts, you don't become cruel. You become trustworthy. Because people know that when you choose them, you're choosing them from a position of power, not weakness. When you show kindness, it's because you want to, not because you have to. When you give your word, it means something because you're strong enough to keep it. The weak man's guide to strength isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming who you always were, underneath all that artificial niceness. It's about remembering that gentleman doesn't mean pushover. It means a gentleman, A man whose strength is so secure, he can afford to be gentle. But first, you have to find your strength. And strength starts with rage. So here's your assignment. Tomorrow, when someone asks you to do something you don't want to do, don't do it. Don't explain. Don't apologize. Don't justify. Just say no. Feel the discomfort. Feel the fear. Feel the way your conditioning screams at you to back down, to make excuses, to be nice, and sit with it anyway. Start small. The coworker who always dumps their work on you. The friend who only calls when they need something. The family member who treats your time like it's worthless. Practice being dangerous, not cruel, not aggressive, just unavailable for things that diminish you. Watch how the world doesn't end. Watch how people don't abandon you. Watch how, slowly, they start treating you differently. Not because you've changed who you are, because you've stopped pretending to be someone you're not. Your niceness was never protecting anyone. It was protecting you from having to find out who you really are. When you stop performing goodness and start embodying strength. The man you could become isn't hiding behind your politeness. He's buried under it. Time to dig him up. Nice guys don't finish last. They never start running. Because running requires knowing where you're going. And you can't know where you're going until you know who you are. And you can't know who you are until you stop being who everyone else needs you to be. Your strength isn't coming. It's here, right now, waiting under all that artificial kindness you've been wearing like armor. The question isn't whether you're strong enough. The question is whether you're brave enough to find out. Welcome to the quiet order, where nice guys come to die and real men are born.